Fabulous. So we're going back. This morning we had an excellent session from Antonio Nava on Kaizen and AI, a bit of an introduction for some of us into prompt engineering and the sort of tools that we can use and in continuous improvement to actually help us do things. We've got a session now, Lean meets AI, transforming time-intensive university processes. We're absolutely delighted to have Darcy and Roel from UC San Diego join us for this one. I'm just going to give you a little brief introduction to both Darcy and Roel, and then I'm just going to hand over to you guys and you can do your thing. So welcome both. Darcy is practice director in the Operational Strategic Initiatives team at UC San Diego. He has worked with OSI for over 4 years, and before that was in Deloitte Consulting as Senior Human Capital Consultant. He's also previously worked with American University in Washington, DC, leading Student Center Facilities Logistics and Operations. God, that's a complex space to work in. Darcy enjoys building positive people-focused experiences, leveraging his years in higher ed, information technology, team and program development, strategic planning and analysis, change management and process improvement. He holds degrees in business administration and organizational development and leadership, and is certified in ProSci change management and Lean Six Sigma Green Belt. Gosh, Darcy, busy, depth of knowledge. Looking forward to this. Roel is Senior Manager Strategic Initiatives in the same OSI team at UC San Diego. He helps teams across the organisation and the system optimise their processes using Lean Six Sigma methodologies. He's got a passion for innovation, embraces technologies like AI, seeking to enhance both customer and employee experiences. Prior to joining OSI, he served as strategy and operations consultant also with Deloitte, where he was helping large enterprises transform their organisation. He's got degrees in strategic product design and industrial design engineering as well. I'm going to hand over to you guys because you sound like the right people to take us through this topic.
Thank you so much for that kind introduction. And if you missed the title here, if you haven't seen it, Transforming Time-Intensive University Processes, I'm sure none of you experienced that and you all can log off. We can just, in California, it's 4:15 p.m. So I see Roel's probably having a beer or a wine, right, Roel? I saw Melissa, you have a little tiny coffee cup. I think we need to work on that. Maybe keep filling that up with espresso. All right, let me share my screen and let's see here. Oh, can you all see my screen yet?
Not quite.
Okay. Oh, okay, hold on a second. It's giving me some. Sorry, we usually work in Zoom, so it's not liking this. Here we go.
It's loading.
There we go. You just see the slide, yes? Everybody okay with that? Okay. All right. So again, thank you so much for having us. We have a couple slides. I say a couple. There's quite a few. We're going to run through them pretty fast. We want to leave some time for some discussion and Q&A. And of course, you're welcome to reach out to us after the fact if you have any questions about this project or how we applied our particular approach. Just really quick, a little bit more about us. Again, thank you, Melissa, for the kind introduction. I'm from Pennsylvania, and I love anything on the water and anything with a ball. And that's my daughter that I'm holding there. She is almost 2 now. She was 1 then. We're big Philadelphia Eagles fans. So if you watch American football, root for my Eagles, I'd appreciate that. Go Birds. And Roel, I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself really quick.
Right. So I'm from a small town called Bernicum in the Netherlands. Moved to San Diego about 3 years ago. And since I'm from the rainy Netherlands, I love the San Diego weather. Big change, much better with the amount of sunlight. And I love basically anything active outdoors. So camping, hiking, any ball sports.
All right. Yeah, we're both transplants. So San Diego, if you went to Lean HE a couple years ago, I think it was at UC San Diego. Nice, sunny, 70, breezy all the time. Love it here. All right, a little bit about OSI. So we're internal consultants. It's a team of about 10 of us. Again, you might have already met Antonio Nava earlier today or in previous sessions at Lean HE. Our mission is to help teams operate with clear direction and simple processes. Right, we try and live and breathe that through the work that we do. This particular project that we're talking through is one of our continuous improvement efforts, but we do various other activities across the university. Keep it moving here just to keep us going. So really quick, we want to cover a few topics with you. So GASB, which is our project and our process that we're going to walk you through, our approach. We'll look at future state in terms of where we landed, what our solutions were, what our ideas were, how we got there. We'll open it up for discussion and Q&A, and then we have a couple slides on key takeaways and next steps. You're going to see some pictures throughout. That's just to spice it up a little bit. This is Ocean Beach in San Diego. Pelican Island is a made-up name. There's just a bunch of pelicans there because the pier is closed. All right, GASB, current state. This is exactly how we felt when we saw the process. This is exactly how people felt in the process. Yes, this is my daughter. She put a colander on her head. We don't know why. That's what toddlers do. They get a little weird and funky. She just likes opening drawers and grabbing bowls and, I don't know, walking around with random things. Has to have things in her hands. She is crazy. All right, what is GASB? What are we talking about here today? So Roel and I, frankly, are not accounting experts by any means, not financial experts. So GASB was new to us. In the United States, we have a governmental accounting standards board that sets a couple standards for public institutions and the way we report certain activities to the IRS. So two newer standards were implemented and required of UC San Diego to report up to UCOP, the Office of the President for us. GASB 87 and GASB 96. We'll show you a little bit about both. 87 focuses on leases, whether we're tenants or landlords of our spaces, and GASB 96 focuses on SPITAs or subscription-based IT arrangements. And these are large contracts that we're reporting, right? So either 300,000 or 500,000, depending on the GASB standard over the lifetime of their contracts. And if at any point, feel free to drop a question in the chat. We're monitoring that, or stop us and we can help answer any questions as we go. So some of the challenges that this group or groups were experiencing, we had to play catch up. We had to go back and look for contracts that were dating back to 2019 and earlier. And these were all over the place, as you can imagine. They were in shared drives, they were in local drives, they were in various data sources that are a little more formal, like our financial system Oracle, CaluSource, which is the UC system uses that for contracting and vending and procurement services, and Tririga, which is where we put some of our space details and our leases. Things were everywhere. Before we had Oracle, people were keeping files and contracts on their personal drives. I think accounting was reaching out to folks who had retired years earlier for information. So we were really trying to play catch up and make sure that we were able to report on all the things that we need to report on. Ownership was fragmented between various teams. Accounting was being asked to report on these particular efforts and gather these contracts, but often they didn't have the actual data, right? So they had to go to procurement and IT services for our subscription-based agreements, and real estate for our leases. And there was a lot of back and forth there that they were relying on. Because of that, when they were asked to do this, they immediately thought, we need more people, right? Which is oftentimes when we come in as lean practitioners, and I'm sure you all experience this. The first thing people say is, we need more people or better training. So in this case, they said both, and they said better people or more people, and they hired some contractors. So that was the current state, or the beginning of the current state, and some of the challenges that we were taking a look at here. So speaking of the current state, some of the issues we identified right off the bat there for 96. The storage, again, all over the place. Things aren't being stored appropriately, or there was no opportunity to do so. The review of some of these documents going back. It just was taking so long. There was people were looking through contracts that were 100 pages, 200 pages, and then finding that this wasn't the right contract that we need to submit. It doesn't have a signature. It's a draft. We need the final version. We need this version. At the front end, we were experiencing a lack of filter on POs for the subscription-based agreements. The categories in which we were funneling things for POs was wrong, which meant that we were over processing. We were taking a look at contracts that we shouldn't have taken a look at because they weren't subscription-based, or we weren't catching all of the ones that were subscription-based. So it was a lot of trying to figure out where things might be based on category. Roel, anything on 96 I missed here on current state?
Good to go.
All right. 87. Again, I know we're blowing through these, so just stop us if we're going too fast here. 87 leases. So first thing that we had an issue with is that the data that was actually being entered from a lease, right? So imagine we have a PDF and now we're putting it into Tririga, a system manually. Those records, we're making errors, right? We're putting things in wrong fields. And these are systems that were standing up at the same time that we're trying to implement these processes. So some of the data was wrong and it needs to be validated, or we didn't trust it. The reporting decision, some of the extract filters, just like 96, were just too broad. We were pulling in leases that didn't need to be reported, so we were over-reporting, or in some cases under-reporting. And then it was very manual, just like 96. There's a lot of back and forth. We're trying to find the right information in the right place, and to do that, a lot of emails were sent back and forth. And you can see why a contractor might have made sense for us to bring on, just to start to track some of these things down. I'm going to pass it over to Roel to talk a little bit more about our approach. This is our AI guru in the picture there. Again, that is my daughter. She's using ChatGPT. No, she's not. She's just slamming on the keyboard. Go ahead, Roel, take it away.
Right. So yeah, as Darcy said, like both processes actually pretty similar, similar issues. One person creating the contracts, sending those lengthy contracts over to someone else who needs to figure out whether it needs to be reported or not. Apply some filters that turn out not to be really effective. So reviewing a lot of 100+ page contracts to figure out whether they need to be reported, to find out in the end that they don't need to be reported. And they came, so these departments came to us for help, and basically the solution they had in mind was AI. And I think that's something we're hearing a lot nowadays, AI, because there are a lot of promising solutions. However, we won't go into a project starting with AI. We don't want to jump to solutions. So in our approach, we want to combine Lean Six Sigma and AI. And you might think like Lean Six Sigma AI, those seem to be rivals, like all the rivals we see here on these pictures, Voldemort and Harry Potter, Tupac and Biggie, Mario and Bowser. A lot of great rivals, and but some of these rivals are not just rivals, they push each other to bigger heights. Messi and Ronaldo both start performing better because of their competition. And that's how we regard Lean Six Sigma and AI as well. They really enhance each other, and they enhance each other in three ways. First of all, Lean Six Sigma enhances AI because you can first remove the waste and then automate what's remaining instead of just automating waste. And it helps for the data. AI is dependent on data. By cleaning up the process, we get better data, so we can create better AI solutions. Looking the other way around, how AI can enhance Lean Six Sigma. There are two different ways. One is in the Lean Six Sigma process. We used AI for a lot of tasks, from automating data capture and helping with analyzing data, summarizing data, information, etc. And next to that, and in the solution phase, it also provides new solutions that didn't that didn't exist before. So we can leverage AI to automate some leftover manual steps. So what does that look like? And in a little bit more detail on the next slide, we mapped how we envision this process going. So we always want to start with Lean or with Lean Six Sigma actually, and that we try to visualize that here. So what we did first is look how we can remove waste to increase the efficiency, like we know from Lean. And next to that, like removing those process steps that are wasteful, reducing the variation so we can increase the accuracy and prevent having to go back and forth between process steps. And once we've then created this lean and high quality process, then we can look into the remaining steps and see how we can automate or enhance those steps with AI. And I'm saying AI, but it might not, like in a lot of cases, and also some of the solutions that we created here are not AI; they're just automation. So we're using the term pretty broadly here, just to clarify. So then in detail, what did our process look like? We all know the DMAIC. We also all know the 3 C's, the 4 C's, the 5 C's. So we loved all the C's. So we decided we looked for a way how we could also mold this process into the 5 C's created by Darcy himself. So these are basically the process steps we went to. We started with clarifying the project or the processes. So we mapped the processes as you saw before, and mapped any pain points that were experienced. Then we cleaned up the processes. So we tried to simplify and standardize them, so we wouldn't have all the back and forths. Remove any clutter, any redundant steps. There are a lot of over processing. And then once we established that clean and lean process, then we looked into in the connect phase here, we looked into AI and other tech solutions to enhance and automate the process steps that remained. That's not where it finished. After having this, creating a lean process, creating AI and other automations, it's important to then also create a clear governance structure, clarify who does what in that process. That was a big issue in these GASB processes, like who was responsible for what step. So we, after mapping the future process, we also wanted to clearly indicate who is responsible for what process step. Even if it's an automated process step, you want to have someone that's responsible. And then finally, just like in the control phase of the DMAIC, continue. So keep looking at the process, keep monitoring the process, keep monitoring the AI solutions, the tech solutions, to make sure, first of all, they're accurate, and secondly, look for ways we can further improve them, especially with AI. It's developing so fast, so there are continuously opportunities to further improve those. Going to the next slide. So applying these 5 C's to the specific GASB projects, we mapped the end-to-end process with pain points. Then in cleaning up, some of the things we did were we standardized some namings. There were different documents with the contract data and the reporting data, and they had different names. So if you would see a line item in an Excel file for referring to a specific lease, that same lease in the reporting would have a different name. And yeah, you can imagine that causing a chaos. So those were the type of issues we had to clarify and to streamline. Are we using the same naming everywhere? we simplified the process. So we, instead of all the back and forth, we said the people with the knowledge of the contracts, they should also identify whether it needs to be reported, because those GASB questions are pretty simple and they do have all the knowledge. So why do we have someone else looking into the contract, trying to understand the contract, which is, as we said, very lengthy, to decide whether it needs to be reported. The GASB mentioned the storage documents being all over the place, so we simply just created a centralized repository where all the contracts were stored. So a lot of like very basic solutions just to clean up the process. Then once it was cleaned up, we started creating the automations, and the main ones here were main solutions we used here were one Trident GPT, which is basically our UC San Diego version of ChatGPT, hosted at UC San Diego itself, and we leveraged that to help with determining if a contract had to be reported. We created tested some prompts to analyze the contracts and let us know if it should be reported or not. And we also used it then if it had to be reported. We used some prompts to extract the specific information we needed for the reporting. The other main solution we created was actually not AI. We just used ChatGPT to create it, which were Excel automations. So we basically took all the source documents in all the information in Excel, and we mapped the original files with all the contract data to the reporting templates to automatically basically fill out the reporting templates using the source data.
And really quick, just to jump in on that, Roel. So we tried to work with our IT services group on that particular piece. We wanted to create a data lake where we were taking data from Tririga and from Oracle, our financial systems, and also the UCOP reporting systems. Those are all three different systems. Again, this is probably really, you probably see this in your own space a lot. And we wanted IT to create a report for us that actually compared the data, and we could just automate everything, leveraging their expertise. And they rebuffed us and essentially kind of kicked the can and said it's not worth our time. So Roel actually used AI to create these automations in Excel and we created our own data lake. So just an example, and we're happy to run through that. I don't think we'll have time today, but if you want to connect with us offline to show you what that looks like in real time, and that you can be empowered to do that on your own if you run into a similar situation where you need to create a solution that might not be perfect, but it's better than what your current system might be.
Yeah, I think that's also one of our main learnings from this. There's a lot happening in terms of AI tools that are being developed and all kind of automations, professional automation solutions. But there's also a lot that we can do ourselves, and just using the chatbots as our guides for coding or just for Excel automations. It has become much easier to create those things yourselves, and we don't necessarily have to wait for IT professionals to come in. We can go to the next slide, Darcy. So future state. First of all, for GASB 96. To summarize basically what's on this slide, the main thing we try to do is to shift responsibility to the people with the information. So we want it to be proactive, expert driven, etc. This means that, as I said before, for GASB 96, departments were basically submitting requests for a contract, then professional buyers were creating the contracts, and then people from internal controls were reviewing the contracts to determine if it had to be reported, and then extract the data to report it. Meaning that we have three different people trying to understand the contract. So what we did is we said there's departments and there's professional buyers. Those are the experts in the contracts. They know what's in the contract. So for them, it's really easy to answer the questions to determine whether it needs to be reported. So we added those questions into that process, and these are simple questions like, what is the term? Is it longer than a year or not? What's the total value? Is it more than 300,000 or not? Information they have at hand. And in that way, we didn't have to rework of a third person from internal controls looking into the 100+ page contract to try to figure this out. Next to that, we created some AI solutions to help with completing completing the reporting templates. So just taking the contract, taking a template, and asking the Trident GPT to complete the template based on the contract, and some other simple solutions that we mentioned before, like centralized service agreement storage. So what were the outcomes? The main outcome was they were able to save 200,000 a year for two part-time contractors. So one contractor was spending 50% of the time on 96 and 50% of the time on GASB 87, and that contractor or contract position was not necessary anymore after these improvements. Next to that, there was another contractor that was also spending 50% of their time on this project, which could now also be done by the existing team. Then going to GASB 87, the story is pretty comparable here. Just the people were different. So we had real estate creating the contract, then internal controls reviewing it to determine if it had to be reported. We shifted that responsibility to the real estate agents or officers who had the information, so they could do it themselves, and then leveraged or AI to complete the templates to support the real estate officers with this process. We created the Excel automation we referenced before, where we basically took the Excel extract from their contract management system and matched the different relevant fields to the templates that are used for the reporting. Savings here, the hard savings here, a little bit less because there was only one contractor working on this this process, but many more soft savings as there were more internal people also working on this process, which can now be which can now work on other processes where their skills are required. Darcy, anything to add, or ready for some discussion?
Yeah, no, I think you hit on it. I think as we go into discussion, we have a question, but I mean, if you all have questions that you want to ask us, we have a couple more slides on key takeaways, but really just want to open it up and allow you all to ask any questions that you might have. And we can just keep moving if you all want to do that. I don't have any dad jokes. I know Tony probably said that earlier. Yes, William.
Great reporting, and I love your metrics at the end. How was it received by the leadership? When you report out, the savings and everything. How did that go for you and your team?
So I think they were happy. The hardest conversations were about the shifting responsibilities. I think if leaders hear their responsibilities shifting to their team, there are some alarms going off. But once we explain like the rationale, we want to have the responsibility where the knowledge and the data is. They understood that this was probably the most effective or efficient way to do this, and I think they were really happy with or what helped there in those conversations is the fact that we had the Excel automations and the AI prompts, or basically standardized prompts to help with completing the templates. Because in reality, that meant that their team wouldn't have more work, or wouldn't have to spend more time than they currently do. And looking at the savings, especially within the internal controls department, there were a lot of savings. So they are obviously happy. The real estate and procurement, that's where the responsibility were shifted to. So for them, the savings were a little bit less, but I think generally it was perceived well. Darcy, anything to add? Any other thoughts?
Yeah, before we jump, Melissa, I see your hand raised. Before we jump over to you, we had a pretty strong impetus. We knew we needed to, just like many institutions in higher education, we have a budget crisis. We knew we needed to look at our budget across our organization, and in particular our accounting team, and take a look at our contracting situation. We had quite a few in that space. So we knew we needed to cut funding, and that led to this project. So in that way, we did have some pretty strong buy-in. But yeah, I'll stop there and go ahead, Melissa, chime in.
Excellent, thank you. Like Bill has said, I love your metrics that you are demonstrating that you've got both time, cost, and quality, the measurable benefits on this. It's really fabulous. My question is, you touched a little bit on people and shifting responsibilities and giving different responsibilities to different teams. Who's responsible for ensuring that the AI tools maintain quality? Who's responsible for updating them if GASB 87 changes? Who's taken on that ownership?
That's what we clarified in that step 4 of the five C's. So for both the prompting and for the Excel automation, we defined which department was responsible for it. So for the Excel, that was all the real estate department. So that we really framed it as, this tool is here to help you. However, you are still responsible, and the same for the Trident GPT prompting. The people using those prompts, those are responsible to make sure that it's correct. And we included some checks in the systems itself. So for the Excel solutions, we basically ran it in parallel to the existing process to validate whether the outcomes were similar. For the Trident GPT prompts, we included some in the prompts. We asked for very specific references. So we asked review this contract, then answer these 5 questions. Is the term longer than a year? Is the total value more than 300,000? And provide references for each. So where did you for every question you answer to determine whether it needs to be reported or not, like link us or reference a specific source. So then it was the responsibility of the person within procurement, person within real estate, to check those references. And that means that it's not fully automated, but it does mean that they don't have to go through the full contract, but they basically have their answer there, and they have the specific references. Like here on page 5 of the contract, it says it's the total duration is 5 years, and here on page 83 of the contract, it says the total amount is 800,000. So we try to build in some checks in there to help the people executing the process to check whether the information provided is correct and it's not hallucinating.
Well, and Darcy, I loved your story. Well, your work. It was very, very, very good. I wanted to know, often the work that we enter into, it's really a story of persistence. I remember you sort of went to IT and they're like, sorry, can't help. And then you, I mean, with the beauty of AI, you've been able to develop something that's really great. What is your secret for your persistence? Is there any, as AI likes to call it, secret sauce that we should be tapping into here? Or is it just day by day, keep moving on and know that you're going to get what you need at the end?
I can kick us off, Roel.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I love working with Roel because of this, but we both approach, and I think many of the people on this call probably do as well. We approach our work with empathy. So everybody who was a part of this project that we worked with across these departments care. Nobody's trying to shirk responsibility. Even when it might feel that way from somebody's particular perspective, from accounting's perspective, they might think, why isn't real estate doing this? But oftentimes it's a misconception. They're just missing pieces of the puzzle. So I think from a persistence standpoint, it's easy to continue to work with these people and try and get them in a room together to understand each other when you know that they actually do care about the work that they're doing. Nobody's trying to not do good work. I know that seems really simple, but I think we both approached it that way, and it's good to see when you're in the room and spaces with those people that, again, they're trying their best. They just are approaching it from their lens.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the personal connection, and we in the beginning of the projects, we scheduled some in-person meetings. So we work a lot remote nowadays, but especially with clients. So like creating those relationships in the beginning and getting to know each other, that helps a lot. Like and then it makes everything a little bit more fun if you also, when you're entering a call, you can chat for a bit and also talk about other things that I think that helps a lot. I think the other thing here is or to me would be learning new things. So at the first, that would be understanding this process, the GASB processes. Like Darcy and I both didn't, like I'm no accountants, who didn't know anything about it. I think with any of the Lean Six Sigma projects, I think it's interesting to talk to people and just learn about how things work in university. There's so much happening, and there's so much we don't know. Yeah, I just like to learn, and the same goes for the for all the tech and AI stuff. We're also not experts in that. We're not ITS, so it's fun to learn how to automate things in Excel, and fun to try out things with Try GPT and see what works, see what doesn't.
That's awesome. Sounds like a great culture. Well done.
Darcy, wanna close it up? I see one more entry in the chat. Mostly confirming, I think, what you said, Darcy. People want to do.
No one came to work today to fail. Yeah, spot on. And these groups in particular, I mean, as you can imagine, I'm sure you've been a part of these processes before, where like real estate and procurement, who were in some ways customers of this process, were off to the side in some ways. Accounting was reaching out to them once a month, and I don't think real estate or procurement never really understood why. Beyond that, oh, there's a new standard, we need to report these things. So I think once we got them in the room, that really helped move that ball along and was eye-opening for everyone. I'll skip our discussion, but again, if you need a fire chat moderator, my daughter's ready. That is her like huge onesie, her quilted onesie. Okay. So I know we only have a few minutes here, and you all got another session right after us. So we just have a few takeaway slides. So these are probably not new to all of y'all in the lean space. First, are we doing things right? Right? Is this something that we need? Is this step changing the result for our end user or our customer or the person we're serving? Would anyone notice if we stopped it? That is one of my favorite questions to ask. And it's hard to answer sometimes when you're so close to it. And that's the value of folks like us coming in onto the side here. We don't have a perspective there. Are we protecting value or just routine? Again, another great question. I feel like often we're just stuck in what we always have done in the past. This is the way we've done it. Roel taught me how to do this 30 years ago, and I'm just going to keep doing it this way. Are we doing things right? Are we doing it again, over and over? Are there, is this form going through 5 layers of approval? Many a times we've seen that in our processes. In this project, and I think that on the next slide we have something about risk, but are we overproducing or overprocessing? Are we verifying the same data twice? Are we not trusting the person who's giving us the information? That's often the case when you're working across multiple teams. And speaking of risk, again, what is our level of risk? Are we overproducing? Are we processing at a level that is so high when if we didn't report a particular contract, what is the repercussions of that? So that's something that we looked at and talked about with accounting. Are we okay if we report 98% of these? What happens if we miss 2%? What does that look like? So that was a conversation we had with them. And then effort and impact. Similar, where we're spending the most effort and getting the least return. Back to the doing things right and doing things for the sake of doing them. Should we be doing a particular step? All right, hang with me. 1 or 2 more slides, folks. Just a recap here. So lean and AI, they can work together. We use lean to frame the problem, look at the process. Can we remove waste and variation? And then we leverage AI within DMAIC. And then, of course, automating some of the tasks that are associated with this particular process. We know you can do it too using lean and AI, and you probably are. Some of our next steps, if you're thinking about, okay, what does this mean for me? Again, you're welcome to reach out to us. We have our contact info on the next slide here. But think about the processes that you might have influence over. Can you start to leverage AI and use lean and approach a particular problem that exists in your organization today? And if you do, share the win. Let us know. How did it go? What'd you do? Share it with the people here on this call. We'd love to hear about it. We do have, and again, I'm sure Tony shared this with you if you were on a call with him earlier today. We have a free online AI course you're welcome to take. We have some YouTube videos that are like a minute or 2 long, just somebody showing an example of how they use AI on a particular day or week. And if you need us for anything, there's our contact info as a department. And here's our contact info for Roel and I. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you all. I know that was probably like drinking through a fire hose in 45 minutes. So thanks for hanging with us.
Thank you both so much for that. I think we survived the fire hose. I think we've now learned all about GASB 987, and that's amazing. But I think what you've shown is that you don't necessarily need to be the subject matter expert for every process that you are looking at. You just need to be able to bring those fresh eyes and the practice and the discipline and the rigor to help those experts come together and actually get to a better place, which was wonderful. I also love what you've talked about there at the end, the risk. Are we sort of over mitigating for risk? I look at a lot of the processes that we have here, and our processes are designed really manage the fringe risk. Like once 5 years ago, somebody did this one thing, and so now we have to heavily engineer everybody else's experience to match that. And peeling back those layers can be incredibly interesting over time. Some really interesting pieces there. So the 5 C's, we've actually had a couple of conversations today already around the role of clarification as part of lean as a process. And I think it's really lovely to see people who you guys have taken models and you contextualize them for your own environments. So I really love that 5C approach. I have one last question, if you're okay with that. You've obviously done this, which has had a great impact. Has that then brought more people to you to say, can you help us do something similar? Has that been sort of a moment where people have gone, these guys can help me, and they're not afraid to try and do things a bit differently?
I think so. So I think that the way a lot of process improvement projects come in nowadays are via AI. So there are a lot of people who see this, or they've heard something about AI somewhere, and they're like, okay, I have all these processes, AI can solve it all. And that's I think that's the main way how projects come in, and also how in some ways this might be interpreted. And then that's the moment where we show them, like we showed at the beginning, like we don't start from AI. AI is a solution. It's great at the end. It can help also help throughout the process, but we need to start with Lean Six Sigma. We first need to create a lean process, a process that's accurate, and then we can help. And then we can look into any technological solutions.
Amazing. Yeah, that concept, don't jump to AI as your solution. Actually understand, define what your problem is to begin with. Yeah, amazing. Thank you both so much for spending some time with us this morning, this afternoon, this evening, for various people around the place. I'll get everyone to give you a little round of applause, which you won't hear, but know that there's raucous applause in the various rooms from people who have been part of this conversation. Thank you so much for joining us today.